Nobody will ever say it to your face. They won't text you, they won't admit it in a conversation, they will smile at you, scroll past your posts, sit across from you at dinner, and carry it quietly, like something they're ashamed of. But it's there. You've felt it. That strange tension in rooms where you've done nothing wrong. The subtle coldness from people who should be happy for you. The backhanded compliments dressed up as kindness. That isn't hatred, that's something older, quieter, and far more revealing. That's jealousy. And here's what most people never understand about it. Jealousy is never really about you. It's about the gap between where someone is and where they wish they were, and the fact that your life makes that gap impossible to ignore. The Stoics spent centuries studying what drives human behavior beneath the surface. What they found was unsettling and liberating. Today, we're going to walk through 7 specific things about you that quietly trigger jealousy in the people around you. Not because you're doing anything wrong, but because you're doing something right. Let's go through them one by one. 1. You have chosen yourself without apologizing for it. There is something quietly radical about a person who has decided, without drama, without announcement, that they are worth investing in. You started protecting your time. You stopped attending every event out of obligation. You started saying no to things that drained you and yes to things that built you. And somewhere along the way, the people who were used to having all of you started to feel the absence. They'll call it selfishness. They'll say you've changed. What they won't say, because saying it would require honesty they aren't ready for, is that watching you choose yourself exposed how little they've ever chosen themselves. Your self-investment isn't arrogance, it's evidence. And for some people, evidence is the most threatening thing in the world. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." When you live that truth daily, it radiates. And radiation, even of the quiet kind, is impossible to ignore. 2. You have built peace they don't know how to find. Peace is not a personality trait. It's a practice. It's built through years of choosing your response over your reaction, of sitting with discomfort instead of running from it, of deciding again and again that your inner world is worth protecting. And when someone who has never done that work encounters someone who has, the contrast is striking. Your peace doesn't announce itself. You don't perform it, but people feel it when they're around you. The way you don't panic when things go wrong. The way you don't need constant reassurance. The way you can sit in silence without reaching for distraction. To someone living in constant internal chaos, your stillness doesn't look like peace. It looks like a life they were supposed to have and somehow missed. Epictetus said, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has." Your contentment, your genuine, unperformed contentment, is one of the most quietly enviable things about you. 3. You are becoming someone they only talked about becoming. Everyone has a version of their future self that they describe at dinner parties. The book they're going to write, the weight they're going to lose, the business they're going to start, the life they're going to build someday when the timing is right, when things settle down, when they finally feel ready. And then there's you, quietly doing the work, not posting about the plan, living it, waking up early when it's hard, staying consistent when no one's watching, making the boring, unglamorous decisions that compound into something real over time. When people who have been talking about change for years watch someone who stopped talking and started moving, it creates a specific kind of pain. Not because they want you to fail, but because your progress makes their standstill impossible to justify. The gap between who they are and who they plan to be is uncomfortable on its own, but watching you close that gap for yourself makes it unbearable. This is not your burden to carry. Keep building. The vision was never meant to fit inside someone else's comfort zone.
4. You carry yourself with a quiet dignity they can't manufacture. There is a version of confidence that is loud, that needs an audience, that performs for validation, that rises and falls depending on who's watching. And then there is the version you carry, the kind that doesn't need to announce itself, the kind that walks into a room without needing the room to react, the kind that holds its posture not for anyone else, but simply because that is who you have decided to be. That quiet dignity, the way you speak, the way you handle criticism, the way you don't collapse when things don't go your way, is not something that can be faked or purchased or performed overnight. It is the residue of every hard thing you've moved through and refused to be broken by. People can feel the difference between someone who has earned their composure and someone who is borrowing it. And the real thing makes people who don't have it deeply, quietly envious. Seneca wrote, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future." That unhurried quality, that unshakable groundedness, is one of the rarest things in the world, and you have cultivated it. 5. You've healed from things they're still running from. Healing is not linear. It is not glamorous. It does not happen on a timeline that anyone else can see or measure. It happens in private, in the gaps between hard conversations with yourself, in the decision to stop letting old pain write the story of who you are. You've done that work. Maybe no one watched, maybe no one applauded, but somewhere along the way, you stopped carrying things that were never yours to carry. Stopped blaming yourself for what others did to you. Stopped letting the past cast a shadow over every room you walked into. And now, people can feel the difference. There is a lightness to you, a lack of bitterness that surprises people who have been marinating in theirs for years. A capacity to be present, to be open, to be genuinely joyful in moments that others can't enjoy because they're still fighting yesterday's wars. Watching someone who is healed when you haven't yet begun, that is a very particular kind of envy. It's the ache of something you know is possible, but haven't allowed yourself to pursue. Your healing is your greatest quiet power. Do not shrink it to make someone else's wounds feel less visible. 6. You live by your own standards, not the crowd's. Most people live inside an invisible framework built by other people's expectations. What career looks successful? What relationship looks normal? What body looks acceptable? What lifestyle looks respectable? They chase these benchmarks not because they chose them, but because they absorbed them quietly from years of being told what should matter. You stepped outside that framework, not with rebellion or noise, but with the quiet, deliberate act of deciding what you actually value and building your life around that instead. Maybe your choices don't look conventional. Maybe your timeline doesn't match what people expected of you. Maybe the way you spend your time, your money, your energy doesn't fit neatly into the template. And none of that keeps you up at night, because the template was never yours to begin with. That freedom, the kind that comes from genuinely not needing the world's blueprint to feel valid, is something the crowd will never openly celebrate, because celebrating it would mean questioning the framework they've built their entire identity around. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Never esteem anything as of advantage to you that will make you break your word or lose your self-respect." Living by that standard, regardless of who is watching, is one of the most quietly powerful things a person can do. 7. You remind them that time is running out. This is the one nobody will admit to, because admitting it requires a confrontation with something they have been avoiding for years. When they see your growth, your peace, your progress, your healed and purposeful life, it doesn't just make them feel behind, it makes them feel the weight of time in a way that is deeply uncomfortable. It makes them realize that the years they spent waiting for the right moment, the right circumstances, the right sign, those years did not pause. And the longer they wait, the louder that realization becomes. Your life lived with intention and direction is a mirror of time passing, not because you judge them, not because you say anything, but because your presence asks the question they have been running from. If not now, when? Seneca, who spent his life thinking about time, wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a great deal of it." Your refusal to waste yours is, to those who are wasting theirs, the most confronting thing they could ever do. Not your fault, not your problem, simply the quiet, inevitable consequence of choosing to live with intention in a world full of people who are still deciding whether to begin. If any of these 7 things resonated with you today, if you recognized yourself in the growth, the peace, the healing, the quiet dignity we talked about today, I need you to understand something clearly. The jealousy of others is not a warning sign. It is a compass reading. It is pointing directly at the parts of your life that are working. The Stoics did not teach us to gloat over this. They did not teach us to perform our progress or display our peace for validation. What they taught us was far simpler and far more powerful. To continue, to stay on the path, to let the work speak, and to let the noise pass. When Marcus Aurelius faced envy from senators, rivals, and people who wanted him to fail, he did not defend himself loudly. He did not collapse. He wrote in private words that have survived 2,000 years. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. That is what you are doing. That is what you will keep doing. So the next time you feel that strange coldness from someone who should be happy for you, don't shrink, don't over-explain, don't apologize for the version of yourself you have worked so hard to become. Just remember, the most powerful proof that you're on the right path is that the wrong people are starting to feel uncomfortable. If this message stirred something in you today, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more Stoic wisdom that reaches deeper than the surface. And remember, you are not too much. You have not gone too far. You have simply arrived somewhere that most people are still afraid to go. Keep rising, keep building, and let their silence about your progress tell you everything you need to know.